What's up, everybody? We are in the building today with my good friend Bree Hall. Speak to the crowd, Bree.
Hello, 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 everybody. Thank you so much for having me on the live stream.
Hey, I am so excited to have you here because this is coming live and direct from our new headquarters right in the South Downtown, where all the craziness, World Cup action is happening. So you are our first guest of the day on our new building.
Eh,
Woo!
what an honor. Thank you.
Thank you for having me. I think this is gonna be a great topic. Really, really, really want to talk to you about how do people build such an engaging career in tech, mostly around the content. Like we always talk about the
Mhm.
engineering. We always talk about like how here's how you do this technical things. Here's how you get this
Yeah.
aspect out of it. How here's how you become like a better engineer or a better designer. But what about the content? Like that, like the content is the thing that pays the bills too, right?
Absolutely. And I think it was last year or maybe the year before when I realized content is just as lucrative as my 9 to 5. And in a lot of ways, I wanted to make my 5 to 9, as people say, the same as my 9 to 5. There's number one, so much money in the creator economy, but even more than that, I think if you have the power to learn how to craft and tell stories about the things that you create, I genuinely think that that is a skill where you're golden as long as you can start explaining to people or like telling your story how you want it to be conveyed and perceived. That is a good skill.
Yeah, like the creator economy is hot right now. Like even brands are talking about it. I was just reading an article from Cons Canes, however you pronounce it, where they talked
Mhm.
about at the a festival this year. The number one thing that happened was people are acknowledging the creator economy. I said, oh, that's crazy that they actually acknowledged it because I thought the whole time everybody knew that creators is a thing, but it now seems like there's an emphasis on becoming a creator. Have you felt that a shift in the tech world too?
I think a little bit. I think sometimes for us in tech, it gets a bad reputation. I feel like the term tech influencer is something that can be seen as like sometimes a negative thing, I will say. But I think that it's beyond influencing, right? It's about creating stories where either you're teaching people, you're giving insight into your life, giving insight into your experiences. And I think one of the most important things is cultivating community, making people feel like they're not alone, allowing people to have like a little bit of a peek into like what's going on behind the scenes. And that's
Mhm.
actually how I got started. Is I became a creator because I didn't see any other Black women who were in like software engineering. I didn't really have anybody to look up to, and my goal has always been to be a big sister or like a big cousin to people who want to get here but aren't sure if they can see themselves actually here. So like talking
Mhm.
about the good things, the bad things, the things that were like hard along the journey. But then there's also this really cool part of the creator economy where you can use those same exact skills that you're using to connect to
Mhm.
people to create
Mhm.
a lot of money actually.
And on that journey, we often encounter others that help us move along even quicker or even in a different light than we first imagine ourselves in, right? Is there
Yes.
anybody on that journey that you encountered that you want to give a shout out to that helped open your eyes or changed how you thought about things that you said, wow, I owe this person a shout out because they helped me along this journey?
Ooh, I actually one of them is in the chat. Lawrence Decodes. He
Okay,
was one of
Lauren.
the very first people. Yes, I remember looking up to Lawrence as a developer advocate. So I started out in software engineering. That was the first like 6.5 years of my career, front end software engineering. But he was somebody that I looked up to because he was also creating content like when he was an engineer, and I was like, oh my gosh, he's doing it. Like he's creating content, he's doing videos, he's teaching people. That's so cool. And when I saw him make the journey or the switch from engineering to developer advocacy, I was like, that is such a cool job. Like, I feel like that's something that I would want to get into. And I remember when I very first thought about that and when I wanted to take content like a little bit more seriously, Lawrence was like one of the very first people that I called. And I remember we sat on the phone for probably like an hour. And I was just like, I had all these questions and I was like, tell me the good things, the bad things, tell me like what you don't like. And all of the fun things. And he was so patient and he was so kind. And I think it's a whole group. I have a group of Black women in tech that I convene with a lot. And I think we just support each other. We're there for
Hmm.
each other's content. And most importantly, they're not afraid to like give me feedback about maybe what's not working or things that I could change. You never want to surround yourself with like yes people. You want people to be motivating you, of course, but also just be like, hey, you have a lot of potential and I see where you could be like a little bit better in this area to like boost you up even more.
So let's talk about that feedback aspect, because one thing I know that Lawrence did extremely well for, like me too, is he would come to the conference every single year, come in person, give me a feedback. He would tell me what's going well, what's going wrong, what needs to completely change, and I value that in person feedback at all times. Right
Hmm.
now, we are in the realm of AI, and
Yes.
now I am guilty of this. Of rather than asking a human or a another person for a feedback, I'll go to
Yeah.
the AI like, "Hey Claude, here's my idea," or "Hey Claude, here's how I'm feeling today," or rather than going to the doctor and having to go get a doctor bill, I'm like, "Hey, I broke my hand. I think tell me if my hand is broken, right?" Do you
Yes.
think we can get that exact same feedback from AI as it is right now? And if we can't, is it on the way? And is that a good substitute for human interaction?
Um, I don't think it's there just yet. I think one of the things about getting feedback from AI is that the AI that you use, whether it's Gemini, Claude, like ChatGPT, a lot of times it can be biased to how you think and to how you feel.
Yeah.
So, for instance, I have a skill that is the Bree skill, and it is set up, it knows everything about me. It knows that I am ambitious, but sometimes I be getting overwhelmed. It knows about the ADHD. Like, it just knows everything, and it knows like what my cycles are when I have really, really big ideas and I'm like, oh my gosh, I want to do this really big thing. And then it also knows when I don't be following through. So sometimes when I give it ideas, I have to be very explicit about the feedback and say, don't just appease me and say this is a good idea. Like, you know how I actually work and you know if I'm going to get overwhelmed. Is this something that I should be working on? Or better yet, tell me how to break this down so that I get out of the planning phase and that I actually go through and achieve it. And I know something that a lot of people have talked about as well is having sort of contrarian agents who think different ways and approach the problem or the ideas that you have in different ways so that you can get more well-rounded feedback. But I think that's a good like first barrier to like get a little bit of feedback, but I think there is nothing like having actual like human opinion. So I do the same thing though when I'm like, Claude, don't hurt my feelings, but like tell me what you actually think is gonna happen.
Yeah.
And then I go through, I fix it a little bit, and then I like show it to people, and then I get the human feedback.
Yeah, I created a skill. I call it the mom's skill, where I'm like, "Hey, tell me what my mama would say right now," and I ask it the most craziest things, and Claude will be like, "Now, you know damn well you can't do X, Y, Z." And I'm like,
Hmm.
"Yup, that sounds like mom would do something like that."
Yeah,
So, you know,
exactly.
I don't think AI is a good substitute for that heart. And speaking of that heart too, one of the things that you do extremely well that admire is the ability to create engaging content. I don't think AI will ever be able to solve that a taste problem around how do we make content feel organic and engaging. And it's intimidating now, right? Where if
Hmm.
I'm a newbie trying to get my feet wet, and just writing content like how like DevRels do on our blogs, or how we go to conferences and we do talks, and now you could see such a polished craft. It can be intimidating to now get in. But what kind of first timer tips would you give people in the realm of AI now? Like, hey, it's okay to be wrong, or it's okay to like take it easy at first. What kind of tips
Yeah.
would you give them to get going with making content?
Um, I think One of the big ones is actually not to lead with AI in your content. And I know that sounds really counterintuitive since we have so many tools that can help you with scripting, with your captions, with figuring out concepts and ideas. But I think when I look back, one of the things that got me to where I am now is figuring out what my voice is and how I like to present certain topics. So before even using content for AI, one of the things that I always wanted to do with every piece of content, I wanted to feel like Bree, regardless of what it is, whether that means that I'm teaching something like recursion, but I'm using video games as an example, or maybe I'm talking about reading or like one of my hobbies, or maybe it's just how I'm presenting it and trying to make it feel like I'm not talking at you, but I'm talking to
No,
you.
Rich,
Like I'm going
yeah,
to hold your hand when I say this.
yeah,
Maybe I'll tell you a joke, but I'll never tell you a lie. Just
yeah.
crafting that voice of we're in this together. I wouldn't have got that if I started with building my content through AI and
Hmm.
really understanding what I wanted to present for myself. Now, once you do that a couple of times, maybe more than a couple of times, 50, 100, whatever that repetition looks like, I
Hmm.
really believe the more you pump out content, regardless of whether you think it's good, whether you think it's bad, it's going to be a learning experience regardless. Then you can go through and start optimizing once you know what your voice feels like. But if you don't know what it feels like, then it's just going to feel like everybody else's, especially where I think a lot of times on TikTok, you see it, you're scrolling and it's like everything kind of looks the same or everything sounds the same. People are starting to edit the same. I want to be that differentiator. Like when you come to my page, what is the one thing that signifies that it's Bree? Or like in a piece of content, what's that one thing? And I think once you know those little pieces about yourself, then it's easier to build systems around those things to make sure that they're always present.
Amazing. No, I think as we continue to grow and we continue to figure out how we're going to make our content even like more engaging with AI, people are going to actually go in the opposite way where they're going to be like, hey, I don't want all this in my talk. I want it to be unapologetically me. All right.
Yes.
And if that means using a semicolon and the wrong place of a comma, oh well. All right.
Yeah.
Like let's make imperfection cool again. I'm gonna put that on a t-shirt. Let's make
That's a
imperfection
good
cool
one.
again. All right. But speaking of imperfection, one of the things that I think about is a particular mold that everybody feels like they gotta fit into if they do want to get into tech, right? Like not even talking about AI. It's just, do you fit a particular profile, all right? And I said all the time that you don't have to fit a particular profile to get into tech, right? Even though it may seem like we're all cookie cutter at times, we're all pretty our own flavor of the month, right?
Yeah.
Like, how would you describe keeping true to your own origin the whole time? Where we have seen friends, colleagues, whoever, kind of form to a particular mold that they think you have to be a particular Silicon Valley mold. How do you remain true to your own self the whole time and to your audience?
I think one of the big pieces is recognizing that my journey is not exactly like anybody else's and doubling down on it or even tripling down on it sometimes and just being proud that I got to where I am. So like I had a traditional route like of a background. I went to college for software engineering. I went to college when I was 16. Like it felt like I was doing good. I graduated and I had a really hard time finding a job. And it's because the program that I had, I didn't realize at the time, there's so many different kinds of software, computer science programs. And it's
Hmm.
really important for you to be building consistently, like during those programs, or have different projects that you can show from your classes. And a lot of the things that I built were in the console. And these weren't things that I knew to ask before I started college. I'm the oldest, so college was a fun new thing for my parents. They went, but I don't know. Maybe it's different when
Yeah,
your kid's like,
way
hey,
different back
you know
then.
what? Exactly.
Way different back then.
I remember going on the tour with my dad, and we're asking questions. We're asking what we think are good questions, and they were. But we didn't really have a lot of curriculum questions because I'm the first person, like in my family, to pursue a technical degree in this manner. And my computer science teacher in high school didn't really have a lot of things to tell me, so a lot of it was winging it, learning on the fly. And
Hmm.
as I got out, and I was like, ooh. There are some things that I don't know. I'm gonna
Yeah.
have to like start teaching myself again, and while I wanted that period to be really quick, it turned out to be about 3 years before I got my first software engineering role. And I know
Oh,
that that freaks people out when I say that I graduated with a degree in my field, but didn't get my first role for that long. It was embarrassing for like the longest time because I was like, oh my God, like maybe I really can't do it. But I've learned to embrace the fact that I had to pick myself back up because I sort of got to a point where I was like, maybe I'm simply just not meant to do it. And while I could glaze over that part of the journey, I think that it's actually really important to share for people who don't come from a traditional background and think that college is the only way, or maybe they want to be self-taught, or maybe they come just like from a different background completely, where maybe you're switching in from a different career. It doesn't have to be linear. And I think that that's the biggest thing that I've learned. No matter how many steps you take forward, as long as it's a step forward, I think you're good. Even if it doesn't feel like it is a step up the hill, just take a step forward because sometimes that's all you can do.
Yeah, the hardest thing to ever do is to just rely on a faith, right? Like you
Mhm.
can't see what's in front of you. Sometimes you just gotta continue to move, like you said, right? And then
Yeah.
hopefully over time it'll just pay off. I mean, I'm the exact same way where there are times that I'm questioning everything. Why are we doing this? You know, like why do I gotta do this again? And then over time it becomes okay. I'm glad I took that chance, right? I'm glad I took
Yes.
that opportunity, right? And I'm gonna be honest because we like to be honest on this podcast. It's times where you're like, shit, I did not have no business doing that, and I've lost my shit doing that, right?
Yes.
So it could go both ways, but most of the time, um, a favor always rewards the bold. Always does.
Yes.
You know, it might take a little bit longer. It might take a little bit more working harder, but you always be rewarded in the end just for being bold and just showing up every day. That's the hardest part, just showing up time and time
Yeah,
again. You know, um,
absolutely.
but you went from taking 3 years to find your first role, which I did not even know about that until now.
Yeah.
And now I can't keep up with where you're at. I mean, you're switching roles. I just found out you have a whole new role. I said, "Oh my god!" Like every time I turn around, a Bree is at a whole new place. Okay, so tell them what you do now, a full time. I think the coolest thing ever. And your company just became a render ATL partner.
Yes. So my title now is I'm a senior developer content lead at a company called Sanity, and I can't even believe that that's my job. Like I remember when I got the role and I was like, wow, like my job actually gets to be creating developer content in all different mediums. So like long form, short form, I get to do talks, I get to do our learning management system, like it's called Learn, funny enough, where you can
Learn.
go learn everything about Sanity. Like there's so many different ways to create content, not just like video content. But I think the part that I love most is I still get to code. I am still extremely technical, but I get to use all kinds of different tools in order to be able to help people learn and grow our community.
That's amazing. That's amazing, Bree. And we cannot wait to hear what you talk about at the conference. How about you give everybody a sneak peek of like what is you're talking about and what are you
Yes.
hoping they could leave with if they come to your talk?
Absolutely. So my talk is called From Prompt to Pixels. And in a world of AI where people say left and right, front end engineering is going to be replaced by AI, I think it's
Oh
important for
God.
us to sometimes take a step back and be like, whoa, whoa, whoa. You can
Mm-hmm.
still code things just because they're fun, because they're cute, as a way of expression, as a way of literally just building
Mm-hmm.
something. Just because you can use AI to do things doesn't mean that you have to do them all the time. So it's sort of
Exactly.
a tribute back to coding because it's fun, coding things because they're cute. I talk about MySpace a lot. Like if you've ever heard me speak before, I like talking about it because I think it brings us back to a day where literally anybody who was making a MySpace template, we thought that we were the software engineers of the time, and we literally were simply doing it because it was a way of carving out creativity and self-expression in our own little space on the web. So I'm going to talk about how you can leverage AI, but how you can still keep your own voice and your own creativity in your front end projects.
You know that MySpace was my villain origin. That's how I came to be. Was MySpace
Is
was
it?
Yeah, I used to get paid in elementary school. See, now I'm showing my age. I'm not fussing, but hold on a minute. How old am I? But back in elementary school, no, middle school. This was actually. The cool thing was making your top eight. and making a cool theme and having the music shown. And I learned how to do HTML and JavaScript, all that, because I wanted to just be cool. And then because I wanted to be cool, all
Exactly.
of my friends would ask me, "Can you make me a theme? Can you do that?" I'm like, absolutely can. And then I'll make them themes. And just over time, I learned the code just because of that. So I owe Tom a
Exactly.
huge shout out.
Yeah, oh my goodness. It had so many of us thinking like we weren't even thinking about like, "Oh my gosh, why are we doing" it was literally just, "Oh my god, it's cool. I want a cute purple butterfly MySpace theme, and more importantly, I got a crush on this guy and I want to be in his top 8. If I can build him a MySpace theme, I'm gonna get there."
Literally was just like, I want to make money for ice cream. I'm gonna go
Yes.
learn the code. Well, not learn the code.
Back
It
when
was
the
just
days
I'm
were
gonna learn to
simple.
make themes and just happen.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? And
Mhm.
thankfully, one day I walked past a poster, and this is at the height of like we need engineers, and now height. So this had to be like 2012. I walked past a poster
Mhm.
while at school, and it had HTML and JavaScript on it, and it was like, well, if you understand what this means, we could talk about hiring you. And I said,
Oh.
oh, that's easy. And then everybody looked at me and said, you know how to code? And I was like, I don't know. And then the rest is history. It's the whole time it was just a dormant skill I had the whole time. I never tapped on it.
I wish I would have went in through web. Like the first language that I learned was Java, and it's all because I wanted to make mods for The Sims 2, which is actually I believe it was C sharp. So wrong language, but that's okay. That's okay.
Uh, see,
Never did end up doing it.
I didn't comprehend I was doing code. Um, the first time I was intentional after that, right?
Mhm.
I was like, okay, I'm gonna go. I'll pick up a book, and I said, "What's the first one you should learn?" Everybody said, "I said C plus plus." I said, "Okay, cool." And I actually read the C plus plus a primer book, cover to cover,
Mhm.
and I still have my notebook from back in the day. Read that thing cover to cover, and after that, I was hooked. And then I learned C++, and I learned Python, then I learned Fortran, COBOL, learned Java, learned all the classics. Then I came back around to learn JavaScript and the web formally. So I went
Mhm.
through it all. And then at the
Yes.
end of it all, I said, this is really fun. And I think all the time, like, yes, you get paid a lot of money to do engineering. Like, I'm not going to lie, you make a lot of money. But it's
Mhm.
a hobby. It's a hobby that pays well. And I'm so glad I picked a hobby that pays well.
Yes.
Um, but extremely excited to have you at the conference this year,
Yeah.
because it's going to be a landmark year. We're going to do all things AI. We even got our new go to a market track out there now for those who are in our marketing realm, because the number one thing we hear about AI companies is they have all the talent, but they cannot go to a market yet. I'm like, okay, let's help
Mhm.
you figure that out, right? Um, and speaking of helping other people figure it out, you've now played on both sides of the coin, which is
Yes.
engineer and now advocate. Um, if you had any advice to give to anybody like around figuring out which side of the coin to be on, engineer, advocate, or anything else, what advice would you give them?
Ooh, the first thing I would say is take stock of like your day and see if there are different ways that you like to contribute to your team, but maybe you don't always get the opportunity to. That was one of the very first signs that I of course like still loved coding but was looking for something like a little bit more. I got the opportunity to build some docs and a blog post when I was working on a design system, and when I tell you, it was one of the most fun things I had done all quarter. And it wasn't something that was overly complicated. It was answering a question, but I got to make a fun little, it was that Spider-Man meme of like all of them pointing at each other. And I think the thing that I liked was I could put my own little nerdy spin on a piece of documentation. And like that was the most important thing that I did for the day. And I was like, oh my gosh, like this is great. I could do this, I could code, I can like do all kinds of things. But I think it's also important to remember as a developer advocate, you wear a lot of different hats. You wear the hat of an engineer, of course, but then you have to put on your marketing hat sometimes, or you have to put on your content creator hat. And it will require a lot of context switching between roles. And if
Mhm.
that's something that you enjoy, I know that I do because I don't like every day to sort of feel the same. And for me, the process of getting a feature, doing the feature, going through the PR like review process, it was getting to be a little repetitive creative, even though I got to
It
solve
is.
different problems. I
Yeah.
think now what I like is being able to solve different problems, but with a tool set that is so big. Like no problem that I solve is the same, and neither is the tool set. So if you're looking for a little bit of diversity and like what you're doing, but also still want to stay technical and also be creative, I think advocacy in general is like a really good way to go. But I will say it's one of those roles where sometimes you have to do the work before you actually get the role. So if you
Amen.
want a job where you are creating content, you got to start creating the content now. You need to put stuff out there so people can see. You can't just wait for the job and then build the content. You got to start building now.
You do. You do. Absolutely. You got to take a chance on yourself or somebody take a chance on you. That is the
Yes.
biggest takeaway at all. And speaking of, look at the chat. I've seen a great comment from a Z Whitfield Dev where they said, I think a lot of folks are looking for those AI content signals. So imperfection actually helps with a certain audience. Absolutely true.
Yeah.
People could tell that you're just doing AI slop. So let's like bring the or originality back again.
Yes, absolutely. Even when I use Claude to like help me with scripts, it's usually to help condense what I'm saying, not to fully build it for me, because I like to yap. And then I'll be like, Claude, I've talked for 5 minutes. Get this script down to 30 seconds,
Yeah,
please.
and you even got a cosign on that from our boy Lawrence. I
Thank
can verify
you.
every piece of Bree's content. So Bree, that Claude skill you got is on it. It's on it. It's on it according to our boy. He said it sounds just like you. So kudos to you, Lawrence, for being a true uh, purveyor of the culture. And then
Yeah.
also shout out to Taylor. Taylor's in the building. He said, "Yo, two
Hey, Taylor.
legends up here." Shout out to Taylor. Shout out to Taylor. So on that note, we are going to give away a ticket to the conference, and we're going to give away one GA. I'm going to give away one gold ticket. All you got to do to participate today is, if you have not seen, we launched a new video game, y'all. If you go to renderatl.com/game, whoever gets the highest score or whoever gets to the leaderboard first, take a screenshot and then email it to hello@renderatl.com and share it on Twitter or Instagram or wherever and tag us. Whoever does that first gets the VIP. And whoever comes after that will get the GA ticket. So all you gotta do is go to renderatl.com/game, GAME, and get onto the leaderboard or share it on social media, tag us, and then send us a screenshot to hello@renderatl.com. And whoever gets that done up first will be able to get a ticket. And again, share it on your preferred social media channel of you playing the game and email hello@renderatl.com. That being said, Bree, I absolutely loved having you on the show today.
Thank you so much
If
for
you
having
could,
me.
oh, thank you. Of course, anytime, Bree. You are one of my favorites. No bias, but you are here in ATL. So,
Yeah.
of course, I got to have my ATLians on here. But you know how I can't say the name of the other shows because they're copyrighted, but they got like a rainbow at the end, or they'll talk about, if you could say one magic word, what would your magic word be? I'm gonna go the AI route. If you could give one a prompt to summarize the happiness in your life right now, what exactly would that AI prompt be?
Ooh, it would be help me figure out how to fit things in my life that simply make me smile and bring me joy, but don't necessarily have to have monetary value.
Ooh, that's a hard one. That's a tough one. I don't think even Fable would be able to figure out that one. Don't ever think Fable would be able to help you there. But that is a good one because, like we all know, we have a bad habit of turning hobbies into jobs, and sometimes jobs don't need to be hobbies. I mean, yeah, hobbies don't need to be jobs. So
Yes, I did do that. I literally made my content creation hobby my job, but I'm finding joy in other things. So it's all good.
I love that. I love that. Well, Abri, thank you for having me. Again, y'all, don't forget renderatl.com/game. play the game, share it on your preferred social media. I even make a cameo in the game too if you have not figured it out. And be sure to email us your screenshot with your high score, and we'll go up from there. But thank you again, and see you on the next episode of the podcast.
See y'all
Bye.
soon.